Before the noise there is a history. Our bodies learned alarm first, fast circuits built for danger, not nuance. Early houses, voices, silences taught us which signals meant safety and which demanded watchfulness. Culture layered rules over that biology. Identity gathered these lessons like weathered maps. None of this is judgment. It is context. Knowing the soil changes how we tend the garden. If anxiety is a habit, its roots are older than today. What grew next, protective, insistent, deserves attention. We trace, not blame. We ask, where did the first alarm come from? If the body learned alarm first, the mind learned to tell stories about it. A running commentary. Small dramas that preempt experience. Tomorrow rehearsed as threat. Details blurred, meaning sharpened. Identity takes notes and repeats them with conviction. The voice wants certainty. It prefers closure to nuance. That small surrender calms, briefly. Then the loop tightens. The rhythm becomes familiar. You can learn its accent. Pause with it. Hear the stories it insists on. Where do they lead, if you let them speak? The body keeps its own ledger. Behind the running commentary is a quieter cadence, breath, heartbeat, the pull of shoulders. Let your attention drop there. Rest a hand on the chest. No fixing. Just noticing. Name the tone, tight, fluttering, slow, shallow. Giving words lightens the grip. Description is a kind of safety. It tells the nervous system something different, you are seen. Stay with that small conversation. What does the chest want to say next?
Let your attention travel, slowly. Check in with the throat, the belly, the weight at your feet. Some places are loud. Others barely whisper. Notice temperature, ache, the urge to shift. No need to change anything. Just map the textures. Sometimes a longer out breath loosens the edges. Sometimes the hand remembers a rhythm. Treat sensation as a report, not a verdict. Listen. What does this part next ask for? Movement, silence, or simply permission to be held? Now, widen the field. Let the body you just mapped sit beside the other bodies in your life. Notice how a friend's impatience lands as tightness. How a partner's silence becomes a hollow behind the ribs. We are mirror and mirrored. Our old wiring seeks confirmation in faces, tones, and proximity.
No blame. Just observation. See which gestures amplify the hunger. A hurried voice. A reaching hand. A message that demands an immediate fix. Try a small experiment. Breathe. Pause before answering. Name one simple fact, I'm feeling tight, without explanation. Or set a tiny boundary, I need 5 minutes. Watch the echo. Sometimes the loop loosens. Sometimes it doesn't. What might soften if you answer from the space between impulse and reply? Now, turn inward. Meet the part that hounds you, not to defeat it, but to listen. Imagine it as a neighbor at the door. You do not have to invite it in. You do not have to slam the door.
Place a hand over the place it shows up. Name it simply. Ask, quietly, what are you asking for? Wait. Notice tone, posture, image. No debate. No fixing. Curiosity is the small lamp you bring. If it floods, give it limits. I can listen for 5 minutes. Offer a container, a seat across from you, a breath between exchanges. Notice how the demand changes when it is allowed space and time.
There is intelligence in the hunger. Stay with one answer. Breathe. See what softens next. Now let that meeting lead to choice. Not grand. Not urgent. Small, deliberate motions that answer a quieter question. What matters here? A choice needn't quiet the hunger. It simply orients you. For 30 breaths, focus on one small task. Speak one honest sentence. Let an hour pass without chasing certainty. These acts are tiny assertions of who you are. They weigh little. They gather. Over time they form a thin line you can follow back when the noise grows loud. Meaning, then, is practical. It is enacted, again and again, in calm, repeatable ways. What might your next small choice be? Let that question rest. Breathe. Notice. Give those small choices a frame. Rituals are not fixes. They are containers. Gentle edges the mind can rest against. A kettle. 3 slow breaths before the phone. A single sentence scribbled in the margin at night. A minute of standing still between tasks. Simple. Repeatable. Unremarkable enough to last.
They do 2 things. They mark an offer to the nervous system. And they teach attention, again and again, without drama. When an old hunger surfaces, name it. Pause. Do the ritual. See what softens. No need for immediate change. Just the habit of returning. Sometimes a ritual only holds a feeling. Sometimes it becomes the first small project you keep coming back to. Which modest ritual might meet you tomorrow?
Now the restlessness has a direction. Not escape. Not achievement. Making as a conversation. Small projects. A page folded with notes. A quick sketch on the kitchen table. A single chord learned on the guitar. These are experiments in attention. They let the nervous system practice staying with something that does not demand perfection.
Creation asks for time and tolerates failure. It rewards return more than outcome. In the returning, patterns loosen. The appetite that once ran towards certainty begins to learn steadier rhythms. Make something not to fix the anxiety, but to sit beside it. Keep it imperfect. Keep it private if you like. Let the work change slowly, as a body learns a new walk. There is a different kind of momentum here. Quiet. Patient. Curious. What small, unfinished thing might keep you company for a while?
Those small experiments begin to seed a different habit. Not doing to prove, but doing to return. Slow commitments set a new tempo. Soft boundaries follow, a morning page, a 10-minute sketch, a rule to step outside before deciding. Small agreements with yourself. Gentle exits from the frantic loop. You learn to listen instead of leaping. To ask, what is this needing, now? Sometimes it's rest. Sometimes it's attention. Sometimes nothing at all. Naming helps. So does patience. Coexistence is not compromise. It's a steady choreography. You hold your limits. You hold your hunger. You tend the work that steadies you. You let anxiety be a signal, not a sovereign.
And when the impulse rises again, you come back. To the page. To the breath. To the quiet question, what might we try next? Now the restless edge finds a channel. Making becomes a quiet bridge between impulse and body. A page, a sketch, a short walk, small acts that take the charge and give it shape. They are not cures. They are translations. They let the nervous system practice a different rhythm.
The point is not to prove anything. It is to notice what changes when attention moves from panic to process. A clumsy sentence. A hesitant line. A plant turned toward light. Each one asks for patience, not performance. Over time, the appetite for certainty loosens. Restlessness becomes a question rather than an order. What could you make today, simply to listen back to the movement inside? The point is not to banish the hunger. It's to learn a new kind of companion. You live alongside it. You set small borders. A 5-minute check-in before decisions. A plain ritual to mark endings. A soft rule for scrolling. You practice naming what moves in your chest without racing to fix it. You offer curiosity, not condemnation. You keep promises to yourself, small, repeated ones, and notice how trust accrues. Over time, the voice that once demanded everything begins to ask instead. It still wakes you. It still prowls the edges. But it is less a tyrant and more a signal.
A modest ritual can become a punctuation mark in a restless day. Not a cure. A signal. 3 slow breaths. Name the tightness. Close the tab. Put a hand on your sternum. Wait 10 seconds. Let the body answer.
These small, deliberate acts teach the nervous system a different grammar. They offer boundaries that feel gentle, not punitive. Over weeks, they change what you expect from yourself. Trust does not rush in. It arrives in small repetitions. Is there a tiny right you could keep tomorrow, just to observe who shows up when you stop? That ritual becomes a hinge. A quiet permission to stop chasing certainty for a moment. When the body finds a boundary, attention can be offered elsewhere.
not to fix the restlessness, but to partner with it, to treat the appetite as a material rather than a verdict. Begin small. 5 minutes with a page, a single brush stroke, a half-sentence line. No outcome required. No audience. The point is the exchange. Nervous energy meets calm attention. Patterns change, not overnight, but by repetition. The hand learns a new rhythm. The mind learns a new story. Creativity here is a conversation. Slow. Often messy. Sometimes surprisingly tender. What might that hungry part become, if given a task that isn't about surviving, only about making? So the restless edge becomes material. Not a problem to erase, but a force to orient. You give it a task small enough to finish, long enough to return to. A page, a patch of soil, a simple melody. The repetition is what teaches the nervous system a new grammar. The hand slows. The breath softens. The story of failure quiets, for a moment. Over months, identity shifts in soft increments. Not with fireworks. With the accumulation of small refusals to be hijacked by alarm. Creativity becomes practice. Practice becomes habit. Habit becomes a quieter room inside you.
And then, without fanfare, the hungry part learns to ask for work rather than only for safety. What would you give it to make next?
Given a modest task, the restless voice changes register. It loses some of its sharpness. It leans into rhythm. A short tune hummed between chores. A single bed of soil tended for a week. A sentence written and left half finished on the table. These small returns teach patience in a body that knows only urgency. Fingers remember pressure. Breath times itself to motion. The impulse still appears, but now it finds occupation, not only alarm. This is not fixing. It is translation. A hungry pull becomes, slowly, a direction. Over months the shape of who you are shifts. Not erased. Extended. Opened. And in the quiet that follows work, there is space to wonder. What might you begin, imperfect and patient, simply to answer that hunger?
You answer the hunger by making, quietly. A single page filled, not perfected. A stew cooked with one new spice. A sentence spoken aloud to no one. These are small experiments. Low stakes. Enough to move the body and register change. Hands learn a different grammar. Breath finds a steadier rhythm. The mind begins to expect a return rather than a catastrophe. Creativity becomes a practice of attention. Not to escape the anxiety, but to neighbor it. To offer it work. Over time, the restless energy shifts shape. It becomes a habit of beginning. A tolerance for half-finished things. Identity loosens its demand for certainty. You are less defined by the alarm, more by the act of showing up. And in that showing up, what might the hunger teach you, if you listened instead of silenced it?
Those small experiments don't stay isolated. They gather. They become ways of answering the day. A morning page that catches the first tug. A breath held long enough to notice what wants attention. A simple limit offered with softness, no drama, no armor. Small containers for big feelings.
Living alongside the hunger is not a strategy of victory. It's a practice of company. You learn to name the need before it becomes a storm. You hold it. Briefly. Firmly. With curiosity. Over time, the nervous system learns a different script. Not calm as absence, but calm as presence. And there will still be nights it wakes insistent. You will meet it again. Quietly. With tools that bend, not break. There is another way to spend that restless pulse. Not by forcing it into silence, but by giving it a task small enough to finish. A sentence. A bowl. A walk taken without an agenda. These are modest acts. Quiet redirections. They let the nervous system learn an alternative ending. Making is slower than panic. It asks for repetition more than inspiration. You don't need a masterpiece. You need a practice that keeps the hands and attention busy softly, reliably. In time, the appetite for certainty feeds less on frantic checking and more on unfinished projects that hold space.
This is the work of becoming, patient, uneven, surprising. It does not erase hunger. It changes its contour. What might this restlessness make, if you sat with it long enough to begin? Those small, steady acts become more than chores. They become a new grammar for the nervous system. A bowl turns slowly on a wheel. Clay warming under fingertips. A single paragraph written without promise. Each repetition loosens the frantic knot. Not by force. By habit. By rhythm.
Restlessness, redirected, finds texture. It learns a tempo that is neither panic nor numb. Over months, not minutes, the body and story adjust. Identity gathers quieter proofs, a shelf half finished, a melody hummed into being. You do not outrun the appetite. You outshape it. This is not grand transformation. It is accretion. Small insistences that, together, alter what feels necessary. If a restless hour could be spent making instead of solving, what might arrive, unannounced, in the pause that follows?
Restlessness, redirected, becomes material. A tremor turned into a sketch. A worry folded into a recipe. Making asks for less certainty and more attention. It tolerates half-finished things. It tolerates silence between strokes. Slow repetition teaches the body a different promise, not instant safety, but ongoing care. The nervous system notices. It learns to expect texture instead of rescue. Creation need not be product. It is a new way of keeping company with appetite. Over time, the compulsive pull softens around something that is being tended. What would this restlessness hand you if you simply shaped it instead of fleeing it?
The work changes you, slowly. Patterns soften. Habits rearrange. You begin to treat appetite as a neighborhood, not an enemy. There is room for firm edges, simple boundaries that keep the ship steady, and room for the hungry parts to speak.
Practices stay small. A 5-minute pause before answering. A cup held with full attention. A ritual that repeats, not to fix, but to witness. These gestures ask for steadiness more than force. Compassion becomes a method. Not indulgence. Not collapse. Quiet curiosity lets the insistent part show its shape. You learn its asks. You learn what calms it, and what feeds the other hungers inside you.
Living alongside is an architecture of small mercies. It is unfinished. What might you learn if you listened a little longer? That restless pull has a shape. Not only a warning. Not only a wound. It is also a current. A kind of kinetic attention.
Try steering it gently. Give it a small canvas. A page. A walk that you map. A sound you let repeat. Low stakes. Modest tools. No verdicts. Just practice. Creation doesn't erase the anxiety. It transposes it. Finds a rhythm for the energy. You learn the economy of trying. One imperfect draft. One clumsy sketch. Then another. Each one asks less of you and teaches more. Over time, the nervous system recognizes pattern. Tension meets cadence. Appetite meets craft.
You do not fix yourself by output. You rehome the restlessness. What would happen if that current found a quiet shape to move through? A ritual is not a cure. It's a channel. A few gentle stones in a moving stream.
Choose something small. A 5-minute page. A slow cup of tea. 2 minutes of standing with the back against a tree. No outcome required. Only return. The point is repetition more than perfection. The nervous system learns the cadence. Tension meets a predictable beat. Appetite finds a boundary it can learn to trust. These acts are not trophies. They are signals. Quiet agreements with yourself that say, I will notice. I will come back. Over weeks the shape changes. The current still runs. But its course becomes less random. Less hungry.
What else might you place in the water? Soft stones, a single light to see how the flow alters? Rituals steady the stream. Creativity nudges its energy towards something made. Start small. A single line in a notebook. A photograph taken without intent. A meal cooked just to see what happens. No exhibition. No score. Just the act. Making asks different parts of you to stay. It slows the chase. It trades urgency for curiosity. Over time, the nervous system learns a new grammar, effort that is curious, not compulsive. Identity loosens its grip on needing answers. This is slow alchemy. The work of becoming is patient. It reframes appetite as a resource to be redirected.
So pick one modest thing. Begin without aiming to tame the hunger. Watch what it wants to become. What arrives next? Integration is less about fixing and more about company. When the hunger rises, name it. Offer a boundary. A small ritual. A slow breath. Not to banish it, but to show it where to sit. Over time, those tiny invitations tilt the field, urges learn to wait. Compassion opens space, soft attention without collapsing. Keep a few practical anchors, a 5-minute check-in, a modest creative task, a place to jot the loudest thought. These are not rules. They are scaffolding. They let identity relax from constant vigilance. Some days the insatiable still leads. That's part of practice. Notice the rhythm between chase and rest. See what asks to be tended next.
There is a quieter work now. Not solving. Not naming. Just staying near. Find the small interval between one breath and the next. Notice what fills it. A body note. A memory. A question that settles and then drifts. You do not need to chase what rises. Let it pass through the room of attention. Put a hand on the chest or watch the shoulders fall. Simple gestures anchor the nervous system without argument. If a thought insists, listen to its tone instead of its story. Say, silently, here. Give it a seat. Silence is not empty. It is a field where sensation can rearrange itself. Stay with that field for a minute. 2. Longer, if you can. Then, gently notice what asks to be tended next. There is history in the pull. Much of it predates the sentence you give it. An old alarm lives in the body, ready, quick, economical. It learned value in the cost of survival. Early hands and voices tuned it further. Attachment taught it how loudly to speak. Culture taught it what scarcity looks like. Identity collected those lessons like shells on a shore. Over time, the shoreline fills. Warnings stack into habit. This is not blame. It is map making. Naming the sources loosens their mystery. You can trace a tremor back to a childhood echo, a bedtime story, a headline, small causes that compounded. Stay curious about origin. Not to fix, but to recognize. What first taught this wanting to call so often?
There's another teacher now, your inner narrator. It arranges meaning around the tremor. It speaks in ifs and futures. It sketches endings before the day is opened. Sometimes it murmurs practical cautions. Sometimes it amplifies threat into terrain. Those stories change the body. The breath shortens. The pulse leans forward. Posture tightens like a drawn wire. Story and sensation loop together. One fuels the other until both feel inevitable. You do not have to silence that voice. You can learn its grammar. Notice its favorite verbs: predict, prove, protect. Name the patterns without judgment. Ask, who is telling this tale, and to whom? Listen. Then, quietly, notice how the body answers.
Listen to the body. It answers in small languages: pulse, pressure, the hollow behind the ribs. Place a hand there. Feel the weight. No need to change it. Name what you find. Tightness. Flutter. A narrow place. A coolness. Words act like beacons. They make sensations describable. Less threatening. Trace one breath. Follow its arc until it rests. Notice posture. The tilt of the head. The held-in shoulders. The jaw that never unclenches. Ask, softly, what this part is doing for you. Not to fix. Just to learn. Pause. Stay with that answer for a moment. If you allow it, the map shifts. Sometimes, merely noticing makes room. Sometimes it asks a question you will meet later. Now widen the field. Notice how your body's language meets another's. A glance. A tone. A habit of expectation. These are mirrors. They can amplify the hunger without meaning to. Name one face that often tightens you. See what rises when you imagine them. You are carrying stories that began elsewhere. Try a small test. Pause before you reply. Let a boundary be gentle and brief. Observe the echo. Sometimes it softens. Sometimes it pushes back harder. Breathe into that in between. What comes back? Turn inward. Not to fix. To meet. There is a part that shows up as hunger. A low, insistent something. It carries warnings and old debts. It wants attention more than answers. Sit with it. Name it if that helps. Ask one quiet question. What are you afraid will happen if I stop looking? Listen without rushing to soothe. Hold the boundary you can keep. Offer curiosity, not judgment. Sometimes it answers. Sometimes it only sighs. Either way, stay with the not knowing. Notice what softens and what keeps wanting more. After a meeting, choice feels quieter. Not heroic. Not sweeping. Small. Deliberate.
Ask, softly, what one tiny action would honor this hunger without fueling it? Maybe a 2-minute breath. Maybe saying no to one thing. Maybe carrying a cup outside. Choose something you can keep. Do it without fanfare. Notice the felt shift, subtle, partial. Choices like this do not cure. They reorient. They collect into a different shape over time. Stay curious about the next step. Let the answer arrive slowly.
Let restlessness become a material. Not to be subdued, but shaped. Start with something small. A sketch. A single paragraph. A walk focused on light. No outcome required. The point is practice. To meet the urge with curiosity. To learn its rhythms. Over time, modest acts change expectation. They teach the nervous system another way to move. Creativity asks for attention, not certainty. It tolerates unfinished edges. Try an experiment you can return to. Keep it small enough to repeat. Watch what loosens. Notice what tightens. And then, with soft patience, ask, what might this restlessness be wanting to become? Now let that small experiment become a teacher. A sketch, a walk, a sentence, each repeat rewires taste. Not by conquering the urge, but by befriending its tempo. You discover habits of attention. You feel the edges of impatience and the slow widening that follows. Failures arrive as information, not verdicts. We trade urgency for apprenticeship. Identity shifts in tiny, iterative moves. Over weeks, a different expectation takes shape, possible rather than demanded. This is not finishing a task. It is learning a rhythm. Stay with the awkwardness. Notice what grows quiet. And then, when curiosity returns, what do you want to try next?
Now, let those experiments become rituals. Not grand vows. Tiny, repeatable acts. A 5-minute check-in. A single sentence to anchor the body. A brief boundary, spoken and released. Repeat with the gentleness of practice. Watch impatience arrive. Name it. Offer it a small task. Over days, the nervous system learns a different grammar. You meet wanting with a quiet response instead of a verdict. Failures arrive as notes, not proof. Curiosity returns in softer tones. Stay with that softness. See what opens, slowly. What small, steady action will you keep tomorrow? Take that softness into making. Not to silence the pulse, but to give it shape. A single line on paper. A walk that notices light. A small dish cooked with attention. These are modest alchemies. Restlessness becomes material. The nervous system learns through repeated, gentle rhythm. You discover patience folded into practice. Failures remain audible, not fatal. Identity shifts by inches. Over months, the edge of wanting dulls, and curiosity sharpens. Nothing grand needs to be produced. Just the act of making, again and again. If the urge were a raw note, what might you tune it into tomorrow?
Let the small acts become a rhythm you can rely on. Not to conquer the wanting, but to answer it with steadiness. A 10-minute practice. A sketch left unfinished. A meal eaten without scrolling. These are modest agreements with yourself. Over weeks, they teach expectation. The body learns what steadiness feels like. The voice inside grows quieter, not erased. Boundaries take shape, soft, simple, repeatable. You will still be pulled. Sometimes sharply. Sometimes faintly. And that is part of the map. Keep tending the ordinary. See what shifts. See what remains. Tomorrow, what small making could meet the pull?
Let the pull become material. Not to quiet the wanting, but to converse with it. A single brush stroke. A sentence left half-formed. A loaf shaped by hand. Small acts that answer appetite without promising control. They are experiments in living. The nervous system learns a new contour. You practice beginning, not finishing. You allow edges. Often the most honest work is what you leave unfinished. Over time, restlessness gathers form, less sharp, more usable. It will return. It will change shape. Tonight, what small making will you begin?
A day after the first loaf, the hands remember. Habit becomes a quiet teacher. When you return to the edge of wanting, notice the tone, softer now, or the same. Name it. Offer a small gesture, a cup of tea, a notepad, 5 minutes outside. These returns are negotiation, not truce. Making and pausing braid together. The appetite will still come. It rings the doorbell. You answer differently. You do not need to dismantle the hunger to sit beside it. Let curiosity be steady. Let aimlessness have shelf space. If you return tonight, what will you say to the wanting?
If you return tonight, start small. Sit with the wanting like an old neighbor. Listen for its tone. Soft, sharp, tired, hungry. Ask one simple thing: what do you need right now? No fixing. No long arguments. Hear the answer and name it. Whisper it, write it, place it on the table. You might find a childlike fear. An empty cupboard. A question about worth. Respond with curiosity. With a boundary. With a small offer, a cup, a breath, 5 minutes. Let the wanting speak without commanding the evening. Then wait. See what comes next.
If it stirs again, invite a quiet dialogue. Don't argue. Don't promise a rescue. Ask, gently, who are you asking to be safe? Listen for images, ages, gestures. Name them. Offer a boundary that feels true and small, a 5-minute chair, a shore to sit on, a jar for tomorrow. Tell it, softly, I hear you. Not now, but not never. Watch how the tone changes. Some hunger will settle. Some will persist. Stay with that. See what the next question is.
Let the conversation sink into the body. Notice the breath, not to change it, just to meet it. Feel where chest and belly ask for space. Name the sensation: tightness, flutter, a hollow. Imagine a gentle hand there. Stay for one out-breath longer. Sense the weight of the chair, the cool at the nape. These details don't fix the hunger. They give it edges, a voice you can follow. Wait. See what wants to be named next. Now, let your attention lift slowly. The breath keeps you anchored. Notice how this tightness answers when someone looks at you. Much of our hunger learned its shape in other people's rooms: an unread nod, a hurried goodbye. A small look can set the body scrambling. Watch that memory surface. No judgment. Just witness. If a face appears, feel where the body tightens. Let the trace be plain. Stay with it. See what softens next.
And then the voice starts. Quiet at first. A quick list of possibilities. What if, what if, what if? It stitches a scene from fragments. A look becomes evidence. A pause becomes a verdict. The body answers in rhythm, breath shortens, chest draws in, the story grows denser. Notice its tone. Not as truth, but as habit. Observe how imagining makes the body louder. You can watch that loop without fixing it. Like watching rain at a window. Let the sentences pass. See which ideas cling, and which simply fall away.
Where does this narration lead you next? Follow that voice a little further back. There is an old alarm in the brain, quick, efficient, designed to keep us alive. There are small rooms in early life where fear learned its rhythms, a parent's tight breath, a sudden silence, a lesson in watching for danger. There are cultural whispers that prize certainty and punish doubt. Over time, identity gathers these alarms like coins. They clink together. No blame. Just history. Listen to the shape of that history. Notice which alarms still ring by habit and which once served a different purpose. What does that hearing ask of you next?
Listen to the voice that fills the quiet. It speaks in predictions. It gathers small certainties and strings them into a future you can rehearse. It often jumps to worst-case scenes. Sometimes it confuses probability with narrative urgency. The body answers, tightened chest, quickening steps, before the thought finishes. You can change the stance of listening. Not by silencing the voice, but by shifting from belief to description. Name a prediction. Describe its texture. Say the sentence out loud, slowly. Watch what loosens. What does the story ask of you next?
Now shift inward. Let attention move from argument to sensation. Feel the chest's rhythm. Notice the pause between breaths. Listen for the tightness that carries a memory. Scan without judgment the jaw, the belly, the soles of your feet. Place a soft curiosity on each place. Don't try to fix. Describe, shallow, hot, hollow, anchored. Words calm the system when they are simple. Breathe with what you find. Stay with one spot for a few breaths. See what changes when you stop arguing with the feeling. What does the body want you to know next? Now slowly widen outward. The chest we just felt lives in rooms with other people. A glance, a tone, a remembered demand, they can tune that rhythm higher. Watch how your inner story echoes another's action. You don't have to fix their mirror. You can steady yourself, Then choose a softer response. Try one small boundary. Or simply note the echo and let it pass. See what opens next. Turn inward, slowly. There may be a hungry part, restless and exacting, always asking. Meet it without judgment. Sit beside it. Ask one small, curious question. Offer a border, not a battle. Let the feeling show its face. Stay with its reply, however quiet. See what lingers.
Now listen to what wants attention. You don't have to fix it. Stay present. Name the sensation: heat, hollow, tightening. Track its edges. Breathe toward it. Offer a small, predictable response, a slow exhale, a hand at the chest, one steady phrase. If it softens, notice how. If it holds, remain curious rather than frantic. Over time, these tiny replies change the pattern. What language might restlessness learn from a calm reply? Let the body answer. Feel where the heat settles. Notice the rhythm of breath when you do nothing but listen. Sometimes the ache carries a memory. Sometimes it's alarm. Offer a hand. Name it: this is tightness, or this is hungry. No need to solve. Stay with the shape of it. Stay long enough to hear what it will say next.
Now widen the field. Notice who tightens when you do. A face, a tone, a quick smile that isn't quiet. These are mirrors. They carry old maps, attachment, expectation, fear. Not blame. Simple information. Small shifts in contact change the rhythm: a clearer boundary, a slower reply, or quiet presence. Try one small change. See what echoes back.
Bring attention softly back inside. Feel the tug, not blame, but a voice. The hungry part that wants more: certainty, approval, quiet. Sit with it like a cautious guest. Ask one small question. Listen without rescuing. Notice tone, not just content. Let answers arrive slowly, in fragments. You do not need to fix it now. Stay curious. What would this part want if it could speak without fear?
Listen to the answer, however small. Name it. A warmth. A ache. Breathe toward that place. Offer a boundary: I can hold you, without being consumed. Stay with the split between needing and enough. Let silence be part of the reply. What might unfold if you simply noticed? There is a history here. Not blame, just layers. A nervous system built to notice threat. Childhood learnings that taught vigilance. Habits from a culture that prizes certainty. These threads braid into a single ache. Hold them in sight. Notice how knowing origin loosens accusation, just slightly. What part of the past asks to be heard now?
Listen. The mind weaves a future from fragments. Predictions assemble into certainty. A loop forms, thought tightens breath, breath feeds thought. Identity learns the pattern. You can change the stance, gently. Name one thought. Describe it plainly. Keep words small. Feel the shift in the chest. Wait. What happens when you don't finish the story?
Shift downward. Let attention land in the body. The head relaxes a degree. Breath meets the rim of the nostrils. No counting. Just the cool in, the warm out. Hear the heartbeat, distant drum or steady tide. Name the tension, tight at the jaw, hollow behind the sternum, heat in the belly. Don't fix. Describe. Stay with one sensation. Notice its shape. Watch what softens when you simply listen. What might be waiting there?
Now let that sensation speak of company. Imagine the first place it tightened, an adult's hurried voice, a quiet kitchen, the bedside light. Not to judge, merely to listen. Notice how your chest remembers tone. Notice how your jaw recalls an apology unsaid. Sometimes the body's alarm is a memory wearing a present face. Breathe into that echo. See what shifts when you witness it without fixing. What would you hear next if you stayed a little longer?
Notice how another's impatience lands in you. A hurried tone can fold straight into your ribs. Not blame, just observation. Name that sensation. Breathe into it. Notice how your reply tightens or softens the space between you. You don't have to fix the other. You can change the way you answer. Try a longer exhale. A quiet, honest word. See what shifts. What would your gentler reply sound like? Inside that tightening sits a smaller voice. Hungry. Alert. It learned to speak when safety dimmed. Not an enemy. More like a messenger with rough hands. You can lean in without fixing it. Name it. Ask it, quietly, what it wants. Listen for tone before content. Offer a boundary or a cup of time. You might not get an answer. Or you might hear something soft, an old fear, a practical need. Stay with that. See what shifts next.
Now, move down to the body. Notice breath, the weight of the chest, a hollow behind the ribs, a quick pulse at the throat. Say each thing aloud or in the mind. No need to fix, just naming. Rest a hand on the belly. Feel warmth. Follow one exhale slowly. Let curiosity be small. Wait. Listen. See what the body answers, however small. Stay with that exhale. Let the chest settle. Sense the edges, tightness, hollow, a quick rhythm. Invite a small question, not to solve, only to listen. Does this part want rest? A boundary? A glass of water? Wait with it. Let silence be an answer. If the body could speak, what might it ask next? Name one sensation. Give it a single word. Not to fix it, to make it describable. Breathe into that word. Offer a small kindness, an imagined hand, a warm cup, permission to slow. Stay with it as if learning someone's name. What does it want next?
You gave it a name. Now imagine that name walking back through time. An old alarm living in your bones. A childhood room where voices practiced caution. A culture that trades certainty for noise. Not blame. Just lineage. Each layer taught it how to ask. Breathe. Notice one doorway where the asking began. Which doorway would you stand in, quietly, if you could watch? You named the doorway. Now listen to the voice that follows. It pronounces futures. It rewrites small sensations into headlines. When it speaks, the chest tightens, the thoughts race, the room narrows. Notice its patterns. Don't argue. Describe them: tone, rhythm, claim. Naming its habit loosens its urgency. What if you could answer with a quieter sentence, or simply hold the space it needs to speak?
Listen now below the voice. The chest keeps speaking. Breath is an instrument, shallow, quick, or steady. Place a soft hand there. Count 3 slow breaths. Feel the ribs. Sense the hollow behind the sternum. No need to fix it. Describe the textures: heat, tightness, restlessness. Stay with them, like a room you visit. What shifts when you simply attend?
Now listen to the smaller voice that narrates these sensations. It strings meanings, warnings, questions, forecasts. Name one phrase it offers. Say it softly, then rest. Notice the gap between phrase and pulse. You are not the voice. You are the space that hears it. Hold that space. What does it ask you to do next?
Shift attention downward. Let the chest, the belly, the shoulders answer. Notice breath, where it lands, how it pauses. Notice a pulse, a tightening, a soft place. Name one sensation. Say its color or temperature. No need to change it. Just describe. Let curiosity hold it, like a lamp in a dark room. Breathe with that description. Wait. See what the body says next. Now, widen your attention. Hear the voice that names the feeling. Soft, urgent, puzzled. It weaves a story around the pulse. Notice its tone. Watch where it wants to go. Do you follow? Or let it pass like a cloud? Stay with the body. And listen. What does that voice say next? No need to answer.
Listen to its rhythm. Sometimes it hurries toward danger. Sometimes it circles familiar shame. It borrows images from old rooms, half-remembered rules, a hurried parent, a cultural script. Notice how those images tug the chest, quicken breath. Don't fix them. Name them if you'd like: alarm, should, not enough, then let the label rest. Stay curious. Stay present. See where the feeling wants to move next.
There is a voice that narrates the unease. It rehearses futures. It paints small threats as proof. The body answers. Breath tightens. The mind supplies conviction. You can notice that storyteller without arguing. Give it a seat. Ask it a quiet question. See what changes when you stop believing every predicted ending.
Now, let the body answer. Notice where the story lands: tightness behind the ribs, a quickening at the throat, a hollow under the sternum. Breathe toward one sensation. Stay curious. Name it in a word. No need to fix it. Just describe. Feel the tiniest shift. Stay with that noticing. See what moves beneath the words. Stay with that noticing. Allow the sensation to have a voice. Not with words needed, but with intent. Very softly ask, what wants my attention now? Feel the impulse move, soften, protect. Watch without ordering it. Sometimes it asks for space. Sometimes for company. Let the answer surface slowly. No hurry. If nothing appears, that's fine too. Hold the question like a quiet light. See what shifts. Listen to the tone, not only the words. Notice rhythm, tight, shallow, urgent, or slow and wary. Offer a small response, one slow breath, a soft boundary, a hand on the chest. You don't need to fix it. You can sit with it. If it calls for certainty, answer with curiosity. Name one tiny experiment. See how the demand changes when met gently. Remain here. Watch what opens.
Bring attention down. Notice the chest and belly. No need to change the breath. Follow one slow inhale. Track a single heartbeat. Feel where your body meets the chair or floor. Name the textures: tightness, warmth, hollow, pulse, softly, without judgment. Ask the sensation, quietly, what it seeks. Wait. Let the question hang. See if anything shifts. Notice how it moves. Does it shift with the inhale? With a thought? Let attention rest there, without doing. Sometimes sensations speak like weather: arrive, change, pass. If a memory or image surfaces, greet it with the same quiet curiosity. You do not have to act. Stay with the feeling a little longer. What might it be asking for?
It began before you. An alarm wired for danger. Evolutionary urgency. A small voice learned at a bedside. Cultural rules that prize certainty. Each warning folded into who you are. Not blame, context. Notice how the urge carries history, quickened breath, rehearsals of loss, habits of vigilance. Let that past sit beside the present. What, quietly, might this hungry pattern be asking for now? Then the mind begins to narrate. A quiet voice rehearses futures. Small scenes, vivid and convincing. It anchors meaning to the body's tremor, proof, warning, identity. Listen to its tone. Is it protecting you or convincing you you must act? Naming that story loosens its hold. You needn't believe every line. What might happen if you met that storyteller with curiosity instead of obedience?
Shift attention down. Notice where the narrative lives in your body. A tightening under the ribs. A quickening at the throat. Fingers that make small maps of tension. Stay with one point. Describe it silently. No fixing. No verdict. The body uses texture and rhythm, not argument. If you listen, softly, the story loosens. What might that pulse be asking for? Stay with that point. Ask, quietly, what it knows. No solving. Just naming, tightness, hunger, alarm, or nothing at all. Place a hand there, if you want. Breathe into the space. Notice whether the tone shifts. Sometimes a small acknowledgement loosens a century of urgency. Sometimes it doesn't. Either way, keep listening. What might this place want next?
Listen to the tone behind the tone. Ask, gently, where this urgency learned its rhythm. Maybe a childhood rule. Maybe a city's pulse. No need to fix. Only to see. Holding its origins at arm's length softens blame. You might feel a small loosening in the chest. Or nothing at all. Either way, remain curious. What memory shifts, if you wait?
Now listen closer. Not to the facts it offers, but to its tone. The anxious voice arranges futures, rapid warnings, rehearsed disasters, identity scripts that start with what if and end in not enough. It quickens the breath, tightens the shoulders, then reads the body as proof. Notice the pattern. You can name its rhetoric. Try speaking to it as you would to an old alert. What would you say if you were listening to? Answer it softly. I hear you. Pause. Ask a question it cannot resist. When did this start? Let the memory surface without judgment. Name the sensation. Feel how the chest rearranges. Stay with the listening. Not to solve. To attend. A small border, you may speak, but you do not decide for me. Wait. See what unfolds. Let the earliest echo surface. A small scene. A rule. A breathless room. No blame. Notice how a young part learned to stay alert. It kept you alive then. Thank it. Tenderly. Ask, just once, what did it hope for? Listen to that answer. It may be shy. Stay with the soft detail. There is more to find. Layer by layer, the alarm was taught. Ancestral danger. A caregiver's anxious sentences. A culture that rewards certainty. Minor shocks. Each one left a map, folded edges, and secret routes. The young sentinel learned the terrain. It runs on cues: tone, glance, missed meal, a slammed door. That machinery is not moral. It is practical. It kept you safe. But it also learned habits. If we look, we can trace the routes. Where do they still lead?
Then came the voice. Quiet, persistent. It names futures in fragments, small catastrophes, rehearsed exits. It loops identity into threat. The body answers before the mind decides. Notice how the story tightens the chest. Notice how it can loosen with a different posture of attention. Not to erase it, just to change the angle. What would that quieter listening reveal?
Listen down into the body. The chest has its own grammar. Breath slides in, then out. A tightness names a memory. Hands remember tension before thought finishes. Don't fix it. Describe it: cool, hollow, quick, dull. Say the words softly. Let the sensation be visible to you. Stay curious. Wait. See what shifts when attention rests, not fights.
Let your awareness broaden. As the chest settles, listen for the echoes that live between you and others. A glance. A tone. Someone's impatience that tugs at the ribcage. We learn to read safety in faces. We also carry those calibrations forward. Notice how another's voice sculpts your breath. No need to act. Simply observe the pattern. What would shift if you answer differently, even slightly?
Answering differently begins with turning toward the part that tugs. Not to fix it. Not to shame it. Name it. Feel where it lives, behind the throat, under the ribs. Listen like a patient neighbor. It may speak as hunger, as frantic safety checking, as old loneliness. Ask one quiet question. Wait. Containment, not exile. A small, steady boundary. What would it tell you if you simply let it speak?
Listen for the shape of the request, certainty, company, or simply room. You won't meet it all. You can give one steady thing, attention. Breathe with the pulse. Respond with patience, not promises. Mark a small boundary, a time to return. Hold the space like a lantern. There is no instant cure, only this slow exchange. Stay. Wait. See what softens.
We can look back, not to blame, but to map. Anxiety began as an alarm fast, useful, ancestral. Childhood taught its shape, voices, silences, the rules you learned to obey. Culture folded in its own urgencies. Over years, identity gathered these warnings like stones. They sit heavy. They feel inevitable. Notice them. Name one pattern you carry. See how the past reaches into now. There is a voice that runs ahead of you. It paints futures. It supplies reasons. Often it feels factual. Often it's habit. The body listens and answers. Each physical response becomes confirmation. A loop tightens. Notice the rhythm. Notice how certainty crowds uncertainty. You needn't fight the voice. Meet it with curious attention. Ask one small question, slowly, what is this voice protecting me from?
Bring attention down. Notice breath, shallow or wide. Feel the chest, the throat, the small ache behind the ribs. Tension has a shape. Name it softly, tight, buzzing, hollow. No need to change it. Stay with it like a curious guest. The body remembers warnings long before words. Listen for the first movement, a quickening, a pause. Which signal opens the story now? Often that first movement is an echo. A child's startled breath. A teacher's clipped tone. The hush after a question no one answered. It lodged before words. It learned to speak as tension, as a habit of the chest. Not to blame, to name. Where, then, did that echo arrive first?
It often begins as a survival rhythm. Ancient alarms set to notice threat. Then a child's bedrock, an absence, a stern glance, a promise unfixed. Culture lays its tracks: hurry, scarcity, comparison. Layers accumulate. No blame. An architecture built to keep you alive. But sometimes it keeps you small. Listen. What in your history sounds like that original bell? Then a voice forms. Quiet at first. Then insistent. It sketches futures fast, worsts, blanks, deadlines. It uses your history as evidence. It speaks in absolutes, must, never, if only. Your body answers. Breath shortens. Muscles ready. The line between story and sensation blurs. Sometimes the voice claims you. Sometimes it offers a script. You don't have to believe every sentence. Listen instead. What does that voice really want? It wants something simple. Safety. A path away from surprise. Often it dresses as certainty, as rules. Sometimes it is a hunger for attention, an old signal asking to be held. Notice where it tugs. Name the need without fixing it. Breathe. Let the question sit. Who would you be if certainty loosened? There is no answer yet. Only the small, brave distance between voice and self. Stay with that space a moment. See what arrives. That tug has a history. A wiring shaped before words. An alarm meant for lions. And for cold nights. Early caregivers left small instructions, soft, urgent patterns that stayed. Culture layered its own signals. Identity gathers them like coins. No blame. Only origin. Lean back. Ask, quietly, where did this first tug begin?
And then a voice takes shape. It strings scenes ahead, rehearsed catastrophes. The body answers, breath quickens, muscles ready. Meaning and sensation braid together, each fueling the other. Stories fold into identity. I am becomes a predicting machine. You can notice this without racing to fix it. Breathe. Hold a soft question. What is the story saying now? Let the answer arrive slowly, and only as much as it wants.
The voice is not only in words. It has a body. It lives in the chest, the throat, the low belly. Place attention there for a moment. Notice the rhythm of breath. Note the pulse under skin. Name the temperature, the weight, the small tremor. These are not problems to fix. They are messages, textures to listen to. Stay curious. Breathe with them. Wait. What else might the body be saying? Those sensations travel outward. They look for echoes in faces, in tone, in distance. We learn scripts from these mirrors. A single glance can spike the pulse. A steady voice can ease it. Notice who amplifies and who quiets you. Try a small boundary. Speak a softer need. No grand fixes, just small experiments. See what shifts and what stays. Then turn inward. Not to fix, but to listen. There is a hungry part, small, urgent, old. Name it softly. Ask what it wants to know. Hold it with steady attention, not answers. Let its questions breathe. You do not need to tame it yet. Sit with that part. No judgment. Ask it one quiet question. Listen for tone more than content. Name the feeling. Offer a boundary, soft, firm. Imagine a small container. Let answers arrive slowly, or not. Stay present. Watch how hunger shifts when met. Stay with that container. Speak softly to the hungry part. Tell it you hear why it alerts. Ask what it wants, safety, meaning, attention, then wait. Breathe. Let the answer come as sensation or as silence. You need not solve it now. Curiosity is the steady work. See what changes when listening continues.
When you stay, patterns soften. Name one small boundary. Offer it kindness, then test it gently. Notice how the body shifts, a tautness, a small loosening. No conclusion. just tending. Later, perhaps, a choice will appear. Or not. For now, keep listening. Let your attention shift inward. Meet the small, hungry part without fixing it. Ask one soft question: what does it need now? Wait. You may feel the answer as sensation, a tightness, a hollow, a fragile warmth. Attend. Not to repair. To listen. See what replies, slowly.
Listen to the reply. Note its tone: small, urgent, weary. You might name it silently. Give it a little room. Breathe beside it. No fixing. No rush. Presence holds its shape. If curiosity rises, follow one gentle question: what asks to be seen now?
Look back, gently. Much of this urge is old, shorthand from danger, shaped before language. Early care, culture, small betrayals folded warnings into who you are. It meant survival, not blame. Naming that origin loosens the charge. Stay with it. What earliest echo now waits to be heard? Listen now to the voice that narrates. It is quick, speculative, habit-forming. It crafts futures from scraps. Often it claims certainty where none exists. Notice its tone: urgent, small, persuasive. This story tightens the body. Naming it softens the grip. You need not agree with every sentence. What would happen if you sat with the narrator, asking one quiet question? Let that question fall into the body. Notice where the voice lands: chest, throat, stomach. Name the sensation without fixing it. Breathe toward that place. Ask, quietly, what it is protecting. Hold your answer like a fragile object. Wait. Let silence answer, at least for a moment.
Listen to the protection. It may be lonely. Speak to it gently. Describe the shape of its fear. Offer a boundary. Say, I see you. No rush. Stay with the breath. Wait. Notice if the impulse relaxes or shifts. Remain curious. Now widen your attention. Invite the protective part to speak. Ask, softly, what it's afraid would happen without it. Wait. The answer might be a shape, a body sensation, an image. No need to fix it. Let the answer arrive. Stay with that listening. What does it ask for next?
Notice its tone. Soft or sharp. Name it if you can. Tell this part you hear it. Not to argue, but to be present. Offer a small promise, nothing heroic, just a reachable gesture. Listen for its reply. Stay with the pause. See what shifts, however slight. Listen. Notice how the voice shifts when you don't argue. Breathe. Pause. Let the chest ease a fraction. No fixing. No story yet. A small tenderness is enough. Stay with that. Let the moment expand a breath. If it speaks, attend softly. If not, learn the shape of waiting. What arrives next? Stay. Watch what stirs, as small as a thought, as thin as a shadow on the ribs. Name it quietly, a worry, a memory, a tension. Let it sit under your attention without demand. You do not need to solve it. You only need to be present with it. See where presence shifts. What wants to be seen next?
Notice where it sits: chest, throat, ribs. Notice its texture. Often it carries a history, a child's alarm, a household rule, a culture's whisper. This is context, not accusation. Invite one gentle question. What would you ask the small, hungry part? Listen. Name it without judgment. Say aloud, hungry or small, and notice how the breath answers. Ask it what it wants, not to fix but to be heard. Offer a boundary, a seat at the table, not the steering wheel. Stay curious. Wait. See what arrives. Sit with it a moment. Notice its tone, its age. Ask, where did you learn to be so hungry? You might meet a child, a sentinel, a caution. Offer a small container, an edge, a lid, a quiet room. Not to shut it out, just to know its shape. Then breathe. Wait. Now, with that gentle container, lean closer. Ask softly what it wants. Not to obey. Not to argue. Just to listen. Name the tone. Trace the worry like a coastline. Offer a small reply, I hear you. Then wait. See what answers arrive. Stay curious. Wait. Notice what arrives, a smell, a posture, a small story. Don't solve it. Ask one quiet question, what are you guarding? Let the answer form in the body, not in argument. Stay with the texture. Breathe. See what else wants to be known. Softly, imagine the first alarms. A child's wide eyes. A sudden absence. A culture that whispers urgency. Bodies wired to respond before words form. Not blame. Just context. These urgings are an architecture built to protect. They did their work. Now they keep returning, asking for something else. What might they be asking now? Listen to that inner voice. It stitches futures from fragments. It names danger to feel useful. Sometimes it rehearses endings over and over until the body believes them. Notice the tone. Don't argue. Just catalog the plot lines. See which stories are old tools and which are still alive now.
Let your attention settle lower. Notice the chest, the tightness behind your ribs, the cadence of breath. Breathe without trying to change it. Describe sensations quietly. Let them be whether present and transient. Stay soft. Allow one small question to sit. What does your body want to tell you now? Follow that tightness inward. Notice whether it carries a tone, old alarm, a slow ache, a habit. You don't need answers. Just listen. A memory may hover. Or silence. Stay with the question. Where did this rhythm begin? Names begin to come. An old alarm from a body that once kept you safe. A childhood exchange that taught vigilance. A culture that whispers urgency. None of it blames you. It becomes a map. Notice which lines still pull. What in that map moves when you breathe?
Now listen to the voice inside the map. It predicts, rehearses, fast forwards. It stitches future threats to present sensation and tightens the body. Notice its cadence: urgent, thin, automatic. You don't have to answer. Simply name the sentence, let it be heard, let your breath witness. What if the narrator shifted from commander to curious listener? Turn from words to the body. Hear the pulse. Feel the ribs expand. Let sensation speak without story. Stay with one small detail. What does it want to tell you? Stay with that detail. Notice its shape, weight, temperature, edge. Name it softly. Breathe toward it, not to fix, but to listen. If the mind wanders, return kindly. Remain a curious guest in your body. See what answers arrive.
Let your attention widen. Notice who returns that shape, voices, gestures, the habits of others. Relationship is an echo chamber. It amplifies and soothes. Watch it without immediate repair. What might shift if you met the echo with curiosity, not obligation? Turn inward. Name the hungry voice, sharp, persistent, familiar. Don't argue. Attend. It carries echoes of unmet need. Ask, softly, what is it guarding? Listen. Let answers be partial. No immediate fix. Hold the question with kindness, and wait to see what shifts. Invite that hungry part inward. Sit with its edge. Notice its shape, small, agitated, pleading. Name it if you like. Offer a breath. No fixing. Acknowledgement. Tell it you see it. Then ask, gently, if you could say one thing to me, what would it be?
Listen. Let its words land without argument. Hear the pleading, enough, safe, seen. Stay with the tone more than the story. Breathe into the ache. Thank it for showing up. Ask, softly, what would help you rest here without taking over? Then wait. Offer it a small chair. Feel where it rests. Name it if you wish, the hungry one, the watcher, the child. Don't try to change. Breathe around it. Stay open. See what comes. Sit with it. Face its gaze. Ask, softly, what needs tending? Wait. Some answers arrive like small birds, quick and fragile. Some don't come at all. Notice the shape of wanting. Hold it without fixing. Let curiosity measure the distance. Stay present. See what lingers. Listen back through time. The urge has a lineage. An ancient alarm. Early tenderness and its absences. Cultural whispers that taught you caution. Over years yourself gathered small warning flags. Not blame. Just context. Each signal was once useful. What if you met them as messengers, not enemies? Pause. Notice which one speaks now. Listen to the voice that narrates the alarm. It stitches small dangers into stories. It forecasts catastrophes and tells you who you are. Notice its cadence. Name the pattern without arguing. Often it quiets when witnessed. Often it keeps going. Which sentence wants an answer and which can be left hanging?
Shift your attention down. Notice the breath, short, long, shallow. Feel the weight where it lives, chest, belly, throat. Name sensations without fixing them. Let curiosity be small and kind. Stay with one point. See what the body wants to say next.
Listen to where sensation opens and closes. Wider, then small. No need to change it. Simply witness the movement. If a thought arrives, breathe with it. What does that quiet ask of you? Let the body's edges answer. Feel where attention rests. No urgency. A small curiosity. What part of you is standing guard? Wait. Listen. There's time. Notice the guard's shape. Name it softly: tension, heat, a tightening around the ribs. No need to change it now. Recognize its history. Stay with the question: what does it want from you? Gently ask where this guard learned its post. Pause. Breathe. No rushing to fix. Stay with the response. Keep company. Let whatever comes arrive, then rest in the space beside it. Listen for the first time it sounded: a name, a gesture, a room. No blame. Just witness. Let the echo soften. Stay curious. What does this guard need now? Slowly touch the origin. A startled body. A small voice learned long ago. Family rhythms. Stories folded into posture. No verdict. Only mapping. What else did it gather along the way?
Trace it back. An ancient alarm in the chest. Early rooms where safety wavered. Cultural whispers of urgency. Small betrayals, long remembered. No blame. Only context. What else traveled forward? A voice takes the wheel. It forecasts storms, names every threat, shrinks the present into what if. The body answers, tightening the loop. Listen, notice the teller. It can be changed. What softer ending might it try next?
Turn toward the body. Hear the breath. Notice its weight in the ribs. The pulse has a rhythm, not advice. Place a hand on the chest. Describe what the body says without needing an answer.
Some sensations were other people's voices, childhood rooms, hurried breaths, silent judgments. They sit in muscle. Notice them. No need to answer. Let their shape be felt, not fixed. They began as alarms, primal warning, caretakers' hushed fears, culture's murmurs. Gradually they settled in muscle. Not to blame, just fact. Where did your first alarm light up? Maybe it began as a look. A held breath. A whispered rule. Small moments folded into a nervous blueprint. They keep whispering, quiet instructions you still follow. Where else do they reach? Sometimes they travel through touch and story, parents' quick cautions, a culture's quiet insistence, the body's primitive alarm. Not blame. A map. And still, where do they settle next?
Then a voice begins, soft, persistent. It threads predictions into meaning, rewrites small aches into omens. Notice it close up. Notice the shape it takes. What does it ask of you next? It didn't arrive from nowhere. It learned to warn evolutionary habit, early attachments, quiet cultural scripts. Trace those small imprints with curiosity. No blame. Just mapping. Where, you wonder, did this pulsing first learn to speak so insistently?
Now listen. A small voice weaves worst-case scenes. It speaks in musts and maybes. Observe its rhythm, habit, not verdict. You can shift your stance toward curiosity. What does it want from you?
Often it asks for small certainties, reassurance, control, relief. Name the need. Offer a gentle yes, or simply feel the hunger without feeding it. Wait. Watch, slowly, what shifts. Sit with the wanting. Let it be a guest. Notice its temperature, its rhythm. Breathe alongside it. See how wanting loosens when not obeyed. Stay. Watch what arrives.
Name it softly. Let the body answer without obligation. There is no rush to resolve. Listen for the next small shift, what leans into view when you simply keep company. Trace it back. An ancient alarm. Early tenderness in small betrayals. Culture's quiet rules. Identity gathers warnings like shells along a shore. Notice where the pull first takes shape, what surfaces next. Listen to that small voice. Its urgencies are stories. It narrates danger, rehearses loss. Sometimes it mistakes possibility for threat. Name those patterns. Then, notice how the body answers. What does it insist on next?
It points to tension, a tight jaw, a quickened chest. Breathe toward those places. Notice without solving. Let questions rest like stones. Stay here a moment. See what the body wants to tell you next. Listen. Where did that tightness begin? Not to fix it, but to learn its shape. Offer it one small question. Wait. Let silence answer. Name the earliest memory that stirs. No judgment. Feel the tone in your chest. Hold a quiet curiosity. If nothing appears, rest with not knowing. Stay attentive, more will emerge in its own time.
Notice how that memory taught you vigilance. Not blame, just shape. Name one small habit it left: held breath, tightened shoulders, rehearsed answers. Breathe into that observation. Stay curious. Now listen. There is a voice that narrates those tensions. It predicts, argues, rewinds. You need not silence it. Describe its tone. Where does it go when you breathe? Let the question rest.
Name its tone: sharp, pleading, weary. Feel where it lives in your chest or jaw. No fixing. Just notice. Breathe. Watch where it softens and where it quietly waits. This ache has an origin. Childhood alarms. Taught gestures. Evolutionary reflexes. Family scripts that kept us safe once. Not blame. Just lineage. Listen to what it learned to protect. What need is folded inside the watchful part now?
Now notice the voice that translates the ache: short forecasts, tight stories about future harm. Observe without answering. See the loop, its tenderness and hunger, and wonder what shifts if you listen differently.
Shift attention downward. Feel breath, small rise and fall. Notice the heartbeat as weather, not verdict. Stay with sensation. Ask, softly, what does this hunger want to say? Listen to what answers when you stop narrating. A memory. A small ache. An old instruction. Breathe into it. Let curiosity, not judgment, lean closer. Stay. See what loosens, then wait for the next whisper. A question settles. A fragment of memory. Name it softly. No rushing. Attend to its margins. Feel how weight shifts when you simply notice. Then breathe. See what answers next.
Let the memory sit. No hurry. Trace its edges, tightness in the chest, fidgeting behind the eyes. Name the first image that rises. Hold it gently. Wait. Notice the next small movement.
Now, softer. Wonder where that tightness learned its shape. Sometimes it's very old. An alarm passed down. A small voice from childhood. Culture's quiet instructions. No blame. Simply tracing lineage. What does it want from you now? Lean closer. No fixing. Simply ask the small voice, what are you guarding? Then listen, there may be a few images, a tightness, a remembered room, or only quiet. Stay with whichever comes. Name it softly. Thank it for trying. Ask, what do you need here? Stay curious. No rush. Let answers come, like a slow tide. Listen. Breathe into its shape. Offer a small boundary, a yes, a no, a pause. Notice what softens. Stay with what doesn't resolve. Invite one tiny tending. Wait. Now, let the body answer in small gestures, softening jaw, eased shoulders. Stay curious about the urge. Notice its rhythm and color. Not to fix, but to learn. What wants attention next?
Listen to the urge's shape. A small question, a memory folding in. No answers yet. Simply keep company with the signal and breathe into the space between. Now, name its tone. Is it sharpened, hollow, persistent? Stay curious. Let textures rise and fall. No urgency to fix. Listen, as if the wind moving through a long room. It often begins before memory. An ancient alarm tuned to modern noise. Early attachments, small betrayals, cultural whispers, layers accumulate without blame. Turn toward one. Listen. What does it ask for?
It may not want rescue. Often it wants recognition. A small nod. A held breath. Not to be fixed, but known. Stay with that. See what loosens. Listen. Ask nothing big. Name the shape of the pole restless, Paulo, taut. Offer one small question, what wants to be known? Hold still. Let a breath. Let a pause. Presence, not solution. Look back, gently. An old alarm. Early holds and absences. Voices that taught vigilance. Evolution's quickening. The body learned to expect danger. Not blame. A map, quiet and useful, begins to appear.
A voice narrates. Small assumptions braid into forecasts. Each heartbeat becomes evidence, each glance, a verdict. Watch the narrator with quiet curiosity. Not to argue. To learn its rhythm and perhaps answer differently.
Listen. The anxious voice is passing weather. Beneath it, the body remembers steadier pulses. You can answer with a softer tempo. See what shifts when reply is patient, not urgent. What wants to be heard next? Let one shape surface. Name it without judgment. Hold it with curiosity, not solution. Notice the small gap between sensation and story. Stay there a moment, see what unravels.